Out to Little Woodrose, talking Lamar University football. I'm Harold Mann, along with head football coach Blane Morgan. Cardinals getting set to travel to Huntsville on Saturday to take on the top-ranked team in the country. We'll talk about and worry about that a little bit later on in the show. Coach, but let's go back 2 weeks ago. Just a tough ball game against Abilene Christian. Fortunately, this one was non-conference.
Yeah, I think you look back on that one and you want to forget about it, really. The thing about it is when you turn the ball over, and that's something that we in the first 4 games we've been on the wrong end of the turnover margin. You do that, and you're an average offensive defense right now. You certainly aren't going to bode well in the game. And what happens is when you turn the ball over, it just goes south in a hurry. And we got to have some guys that we've got to get into a rhythm on offense and make some first downs and find some guys to make some plays and do the same thing on defense and get the ball back. And, the same thing in special teams. We've got to find a niche somewhere where we can go, we can turn the ball over, we can get, someone to make a play and get a little, football is all about momentum. And when you have guys that make plays, that do things that get the crowd, that gets the team excited, then that's what creates momentum and just momentum on your team.
Such a young team, and a game like that, how do you rebuild their confidence? How do you just tell them, hey, let's get that one behind us. It's gone. Let's move forward.
Yeah, you have to go back to how you do things. And I think with a team with the experience level we have right now, you've got to go back and really look back at the week and be honest with each player has to be honest with themselves and say, well, how did we practice? How do we prepare for that game? And I think if they're very honest with themselves, I think it would be, not attentive to details. Effort probably wasn't where it needed to be. And then at the end of the day, those guys that make plays on Saturday are doing it over and over and over again during the week. And you'd like to have a lot of guys that model what you want to see out of a team, and right now we don't have that going on, and we're trying to work on that. And I think we've taken some steps this week to in the right direction. I certainly don't think we've arrived or as far as preparation for a game, but we're starting to learn what that looks like.
A game is 60 minutes long. And when you get into the fourth quarter, how do you get those kids not to have their confidence level down, keep fighting? Because, with your team, your coaching staff, you're going to play till the clock hits zero.
Right, yeah. And if you have a bunch of guys that love to compete, then they compete whether they're playing, ping pong, they're playing basketball out in the neighborhood, or flag football, or wherever they're at or whatever they're doing, they're going to compete to win no matter what the circumstances are. And that's kind of an attitude that's been kind of built up, me growing up and being around football. And that's just something that has always been a part of who I am. And I want it to translate to our team and for those guys to understand that's just going to be our DNA as a team. And we're going to fight no matter what the score is, whether you're up by 50 or you're down by 50. Because here sooner than later we'll have a few of those games as well. You just keep competing,
right?
And then you don't look at the scoreboard. You just keep playing and fighting and competing, and that's what leads towards wins. It's each and every play. It's not, hey, go out and win. It's no, play this play. All right, let's turn it over. Play the just. And it's very coaching cliche, but it is. It's play after play, just being consistent.
Talking with Lamar head football coach Blane Morgan. We're at Little Woodrose. Invite you to come on out. We now moved it to Wednesday nights, as you can tell, from 7 to 8. We're going to be here for the duration of the football season on Wednesday nights. I want to talk about the student body a little bit. A lot of times you see a one-sided game. They may take it to the dorm. But I thought your student body stayed there and supported your team till the end.
Yeah, you have a core group of students that are just diehard.
The flock.
The flock, and kudos to our band. I mean, we didn't give them a whole lot to cheer about and to get excited about, and they have to be there, but they are excitable and they do such a great job of trying to excite the crowd and get them on their feet. And in the coming weeks and months and certainly years, we're gonna have plenty of plays to get fans excited.
You play them again in 2 weeks. I know we're worried about Sam Houston State this coming Saturday, but are you going to look back, obviously study that game video and see what corrections can be made on what you did and did not do both?
Yeah. You and really, it's very interesting to go back and look at what you do in a bye week. Is you look at kind of your 4 games leading into it, and certainly you'll assess the ACU game, but they're going to do something that's a little bit different, and we'll do the same and go back, and it gives you a chance to look at yourselves and see what it is you're doing well and what you're not doing so well, and really assess yourselves and see really where you're not efficient, and we've looked at a few of those areas and those things, and hopefully we can certainly improve upon that starting this week.
Did the bye week come at a good time for you?
Perfect time. I think just got the majority of our team has not been through a real fall camp, and so just getting through fall camp and getting through the first 4 weeks of the season and then reassessing. We've stayed relatively injury free, so that's certainly been a blessing. Because we depth-wise we're thin as it starts, and then just getting guys a breath of fresh air. Last week we gave them a couple days off where they were able to go home and see their families and hit reset before we start conference this week.
I was going to talk about the depth a little bit and the injuries. One good thing, knock on wood, of course, we've not seen the tent go up a whole lot, and that's a good thing.
It is. We certainly can't afford to lose anybody. Because you're talking about, on our one deep on defense, you do see quite a few guys with that have played that are older kids, and you want to see those guys play well, and that's the thing in the coming weeks that you want to see is those guys just continue to improve and take that next step.
4 games behind us. Those kids that had played in their first 4 games, they could play in 4 games and not lose their red shirt. Have you looked at some kids and say we're going to basically not use them and put the red shirt on them, or are you going to sit back and wait to see maybe injury-wise if you need them?
Right. You go through your roster in the bye week. The bye week allows you time to do some things to recruit because this time last year during recruiting we weren't playing, and so it was all in on recruiting, and we had the opportunity to sign a very good recruiting class, and so now we're playing, and so everybody's busier. So you recruit, and then you go through your roster, and you look at how many games certain guys have played in, what's the plan, because what's going to happen is the 2020 recruiting class and the 2021 recruiting class are all in the same class.
Yeah.
So what's going to separate them is this playing in 4 games and that redshirt year. And so you have a strategic plan, and it with injuries and anything else that comes up, that plan's going to constantly change probably as well.
Now that 4-game rule came in 2 or 3 years ago, and personally I love it because in the past a kid could come in, and if he was just on a kickoff team for 1 play, that was an entire year. It helps the kid.
It does, and you can be very strategic about it. If you want to do that, if you want a kid to play on special teams and he hasn't played in these 4 games, now you get 4 out of the next 7. Where those guys, hey, we're going to pick the home games or whatever games you can be strategic and plan, and those guys can make an impact on your season.
We'll talk about this in our next segment a little bit. We'll talk about recruiting. Of course, you can't mention any names at this time until they're officially signed. But I understand you were at Mid-County Madness. What did you think of that atmosphere? 13,000 fans out of the football stadium. What do you think of that atmosphere for a high school game?
Yeah, it's just great we haven't been able to do that. We haven't been able to go to high school games. And obviously the people haven't been there this last year. So just to get back and be back in Texas and see one of the best rivalries in the entire state and just see the atmosphere, it was fun, and it just reminds you of how important high school football is in the state of Texas, and it also reminds you how good the programs and the coaches and what a good job that the high school coaches in Texas do, just building programs. The X's and the O's part and the execution was pretty good.
When it comes to recruiting, you talked about this from day one. You want to look here locally first and then work your way out.
Absolutely. And what's so hard about that is there are so many good players here locally, and we're looking for a very, very specific at each position, and everyone's not going to understand that. Right. We can't take every single local kid that's a good player, and that's what's really hard. And you battle it wherever you're at. At other schools I've been at, it's the same. It's kind of the same thing. Well, hey, why aren't you recruiting the local kids? And we do we know about every single local kid.
Yes.
That's a junior and a senior, because each one of our coaches has 4 or 5 schools, and so I think that we've done a nice job. And what you want to do is be right with your evaluation, be very thorough, and not go too fast or too slow. In certain positions, you go slower because there are a lot more. For example, like the wide receiver position in the state of Texas, with so many spread offenses, there are so many receivers out there right now that there are more receivers out there that are college receivers than there are scholarships, and so there's going to be a lot of guys available.
We're at Little Woodrow's talking Lamar University football. Going to get our first break in here on Lamar Athletics and on KLVI. We're back to Little Woodrow's talking football with Coach Blane Morgan. .560 KLVI, along with Lamar Athletics on Facebook. Harold Mann, along with Lamar University head football coach Blane Morgan, talking Cardinals football. Again, the Cardinals coming off that loss 2 weeks ago against Abilene Christian. Although they're in the Western Athletic Conferences, was not a conference game. Explain how that all came about. Both schools just needed to fill the schedule?
Yeah, it came about. We were going to double up with one of the conference teams and play it as a non-conference game. It was just one of those.
And you picked the 8-hour one.
Exactly. It was a way to fill the schedule. Now I don't know how the origination of we played the non-conference at our place, and we're going to play the conference game. I don't know how that all came about, but it is what it is, I guess, and it's par for the course for this year, just being a little bit different.
Talked about this a little bit in the first segment about the week off. I know you said you give a couple days off, but did you go pretty hard a couple days during the off week?
Yeah, we went 3 hard days and really got a head start on Sam Houston, and we were we went in pads all 3 days, and just because of where we're at. We just need to need to take significant steps as a football team, and we need to, just identity-wise, we're going to be a physical football team, and we need to continue to, to work to improve on that.
Weather, welcome to Southeast Texas. Rain every day. Did the rain hurt you at all the last couple weeks?
No, we avoided. I think our last day of practice, we went on Friday morning so the guys could take off, and I think it rained the rest of the day on Friday. So we hit it. We finally hit the weather. Yeah. we hit it right for one day.
There's times you work out on the field itself, and then there's times you go over to the practice field, which is a natural grass field. What determinations do you make on when you're going to work on the turf field or the grass field?
We like to, in going forward, now that it's going to be a little bit cooler in the afternoon on Monday and Tuesday, but we'd love to be on the grass if we can make it work out. It's in great shape, and as the season moves along, it's going to take a little bit off their legs, and hopefully, longevity-wise, we'll be a little fresher throughout the season.
Again, we can't name any names in particular, but I did know prior to the Evelyn Christian game, a lot of guys on the sideline. You had a lot of recruits in, and yeah. What's a day look like for the guys that are going to come in for a visit?
We had 75 high school seniors, and they drove from anywhere from 15 minutes away to 5 hours away, and that shows you what the job our coaching staff is doing in recruiting. I think our recruiting coordinator is the best in the state, and he just shows in our recruiting class this last year, and I think we're very, very detailed and diligent in how we recruit, and we're gonna have to be different than other people, and really hopefully that shows in with the recruits and who we sign.
A typical day for a recruit when a visit comes in.
Yeah, so we had the guys in, and what we did is just showed them the facility. I think that's what really separates us as a program from some of the other teams in our conference. And then on campus, sometimes Lamar University gets a bad rap for the campus life and what we have on campus, but I think with the new facilities and the buildings and the infrastructure we have, it's really eye-opening and surprising for a lot of recruits that come in. And then I'll meet with a handful of them, a handful of our recruits. I'll talk to the group, and then we'll let them try on a jersey. I mean, we try to give them the whole experience over the course of 2 or 3 hours.
And you talk about campus life, Cardinal Village, the dorms, they're outstanding. Lamar has some of the best living facilities for student athletes you can find around.
It is, and I think you look at the rec center, you look at the set, which is the student union building, and you look at the new science building, and there's no other facilities in the country that are that new and nice, and so I think that especially within our conference, and that's really what separates Lamar University from I think those others.
Now, recruiting, is this the only time, or will there be recruits at some other upcoming home games?
We'll have recruits at every game other than homecoming, and we're, like I said, we're going to sign another substantial recruiting class this year, and that is how we're going to build this program. Is we're going to build and develop. We're going to recruit high school football players. We're going to grow and develop them, and that's just the philosophy that we have, and I think it's the best way to do it, because now we're going to get out and we're actually going to get to do home visits and see them face to face, and do a nice thorough job of really getting to know who they are as people and as players, and so I think we'll do an even better job going forward.
We are visiting with Lamar University head football coach Blane Morgan. We're at Little Woodrose. They're off Phelan Boulevard near the Dowling Road exit. We're going to be here each and every Wednesday night through the duration of the Cardinals football season, and 7 to 8 each Wednesday night. We always invite you to come on out and join us with Cardinal football. Cardinals getting ready to hit the road this coming Saturday to take on the top-ranked team in the country, Sam Houston State. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we're back with more of the Coach Blane Morgan Show on News Talk 560 KLVI. Back at Little Woodrose, the Coach Blane Morgan Show, talking Lamar University football. We're joined by Patrick Covington, the offensive coordinator, offensive line coach for the Cardinals, and this is our first time, Coach, to sit down and talk to you, and welcome to Southeast Texas.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This is awesome. This is great.
Tell us a little bit about your background in coaching, maybe where you grew up, played high school ball, college, and down the line.
Yeah, so I think I'm the one guy on staff that's not from around here somewhere in Texas, Louisiana. I'm originally from the Carolinas, Charlotte, North Carolina. Went to school at Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina, an FCS program. Played ball there. Got my start in coaching right after my senior year at Coastal Carolina. And then I met Coach Morgan at the Air Force Academy. My O-line coach was the O-line coach out there at Air Force. And that was kind of my connection to get on that staff. And I hit the jackpot early on as a coach, and I got a chance to learn from those guys at Air Force, and as a really young guy and an experienced guy, and was there for 3 years, learned a lot, and then went back to Coastal Carolina to work for David Bennett, then with Coach Mowgli after that, and then Jamie Chadwell for that. I was there about 10 years, so I came from there.
You know, growing up, it's every kid's dream, hey, I'm going to play high school football, college football, and go on to the NFL. At what point in your life did you decide you wanted to be a coach?
Yeah, well, I was that guy, in English class in high school drawing up plays, that, it was just something probably about my sophomore, junior year. I knew I wanted to coach. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't have a dad that coached or anything like that. It wasn't really in my family. But it was just something I love being a part of the game. And then, you get to a point when you can't play anymore and you hit that ceiling and you just know you want to stay a part of it. I always love the scheme of the game and the competition. And now I kind of get to be a part of that on a daily basis. And I always tell those guys too, like I kind of got into it for a lot of selfish reasons because I couldn't play anymore. I love being able to be a part of the game. I love being able to the scheme piece of it. But now it's been, as I've gotten older and older in coaching, it's been more about the relationship, seeing the guys when they come in and go in their home for recruiting, and then, coming as freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and then how much they grow and become an independent person. And that's the most fun when it clicks for them.
You were on that Coastal Carolina staff for several years. Were you on the staff that came here and played Lamar then one year?
We were. So I think it was 2016. It was our last year.
It was your transition year.
Right.
From, FCS to FBS at Coastal.
That's right. So we were like an FCS independent. We just moved out of the Big South. We were playing a totally, I believe, FCS schedule. And I remember we were flying in, and it was actually a wives trip, so my wife came with me. And it was probably the rockiest descent I've ever had on a plane. I think we landed in Lake Charles and then drove over. And that was the the craziest part of the trip. But it was a hard-fought game, and we ended up at Coastal. We ended up taking it at the end. We had a bunch of seniors, and unfortunately, we didn't have those seniors the first year we went to the Sun Belt. The next year, we were a really young team, kind of like we are right now.
I want to talk about that a little bit. You handle the offensive line, and you look at your depth chart: sophomore, freshman, sophomore. How tough is it to get these kids ready? They're playing high school football last year, and now they're lining up against the defending national champion coming this Saturday.
Yeah, I think there's nothing that beats experience to a certain extent. Just because these guys haven't gotten, no matter how many different ways you practice it, they've never gotten the feel of all those different live reps. But what I would say is the guys that you see in there and the guys that are rotating in. Not only you're starting a couple freshmen and sophomores, you got guys that are also rolling, like B.J. Williams, that are rolling in, Caleb Leonard, that are also getting snaps. So those guys, the biggest thing carry off for me is that they played hard through it all. They haven't backed down from anybody. They haven't played like true freshmen from an effort or a physical standpoint. They've gotten after and went after everybody full tilt.
Obviously it goes out saying to go up to Greeley, Colorado, Northern Colorado, get the win up there in overtime. I thought those guys did a great job on that Saturday afternoon against Northern Colorado.
They did. We kind of clicked, everybody on offense and defense for that matter. At the very end of the game, we finally got it all together, and we all kind of clicked together. And that was a big moment for everybody, just kind of gaining some confidence and seeing what they can be when they truly execute like they know they can.
I talked to Coach Morgan about this in one of our earlier segments. Loss against Abilene Christian. How do you keep that confidence level? Where do you get that confidence level? Because these kids are young, as we just talked about. How do you get their confidence level to stay, hey, we're moving forward to keep it going?
Yeah, I think we talk more about, everybody we play has good players.
Yes.
Everybody. You look at the rest of the schedule. So it's more about when you go back and you look at the tape, we're talking a lot more about, what are we doing? How are we executing? How are we playing fast enough? Are we playing with confidence? And that's kind of what we go back to. And it's not really it's not who you're playing, who's that D tackle or that linebacker or that DB that you're lined up against, but more about, all right, what front are they in? What coverage are they in? What look are they giving you? And what are your rules? What are your assignments so you can play fast with some confidence? And we just tried to, we're not going to back down from anybody. We're going to go after everybody full tilt. And give them our best shot and with our effort, and we just want to focus on our execution and cleaning up what we got to do, and that's really the most important thing.
It goes out without saying, your offensive line or your hosses or your big guys up front. Talk about your weight program, get him into the weight room, off season. How's all that develop for your team?
Yeah, this will probably be for a lot of these young guys coming up. This full calendar year will be really their first go at it. A lot of the guys that just came in, and this summer was really the first time with this whole team where you got a full span of a little bit of an off-season program. So in that little chunk of time, we saw a lot of development, but it's going to be amazing to see with a full year cycle how these guys grow from 18 to 19, 19 to 20, because they're going to mature so much physically, not only just mentally in their approach to the game and how they prepare on a daily basis, but physically they're going to grow up a bunch.
You say, well, 20 years old, 18-year-olds, that's just 2 years, but those are 2 big years in developing a body.
Yep, definitely. You look at it in recruiting, too. You look at those high school linemen, and, you've got some of those guys that as sophomores and juniors, they're studs already for sure, but the majority of the guys, they take the biggest jump from their junior year, the big guys especially. They take a jump from their junior year to their senior year. And like Coach Morgan talked about, we do so much from a senior evaluation standpoint in recruiting. We want to see what those guys – that senior year should be their best year of film. Not only physically like you're talking about, but just from experience standpoint. So we feel like we kind of get an edge in recruiting here because of how hard we do senior evals on these guys.
Coach, thank you so much for stopping by. Again, offensive coordinator offensive line coach Patrick Covington with Lamar University. Welcome to Beaumont. We like the direction this football program's going in, and we just ask the fans to be patient because these kids are young, and they're going to see something special maybe the rest of this year or the years to come.
That's right. Absolutely. Thank you.
You bet. Again, we are talking Lamar University football. It's the Coach Blane Morgan Show. We are at Little Woodrose. We invite you out to see us each and every Wednesday night from 7 until 8 during the duration of the football game. Let's come on back in just a couple minutes with more on the Coach Blane Morgan Show on News Talk 560 KLVI. Rose talking Lamar University football head coach Blane Morgan, our weekly Lamar University football coaches show. Again, Little Woodrose right here on Dowling Road off Phelan Boulevard. Come on by and see us. Again, from 7 until 8 on Wednesday nights. In the past, first few shows we did Tuesdays, but now we're doing Wednesdays, and that'll be the rest of the way. Coach, we just had on your OC talking about Coach Covington a little bit.
Yeah, he's a guy that I've known for a long time, and just working with him, the type of, I think the first thing when you talk about he and the rest of our staff, just very incredible people. They're great people. You know how they're going to treat and develop young men as people, and that first and foremost. And then he's just very, very, very good at the X's and O's part, and coaching and developing offensive linemen, and really from a run game standpoint, he's as good a coach as I've seen. And you look at the crew he's coaching and how they have developed over these first 2 months. It's exciting as a coach. What gets me excited is just to see the group that we have, and how many. I mean, there's nobody in the country that I know of or has ever coached that many young guys in the offensive front. And he kind of went through that a little bit when he was at Coastal Carolina, and they were on the cusp for so long, and last year they finally broke through at Coastal Carolina, and you see all those guys that he identified and recruited,
making a bowl game and actually popped in the top 25.
Right there, I think they're sitting at 14 or 15 right now in the FBS poll. And so a guy like that who's coached for a bunch of different coaches, he just brings a wealth of knowledge, just from his background and having coached with so many people. He brings a lot of wisdom and gives me as a head coach. You need different guys on your staff to kind of fill different roles, and he fills a number of roles. And just if there's something that I have a question about, a lot of times he's the guy I go to and seek out for advice and wisdom.
You worked with him at the Air Force Academy. And matter of fact, look at your coaching staff. There's a lot of guys on that coaching staff that you crossed paths with and worked with on the coaching staff in the past. And I like that because those are guys you're familiar with. Those are guys you know their work ethic. They know your work ethic.
Right, and they know what I think what drew a lot of the coaches to Lamar University is they knew what kind of atmosphere we wanted to have within our program and how we were going to treat and develop kids and the type of players we wanted to bring into our program. And so I think and kind of the family atmosphere, not only within our program, but if you come out to practice really in training camp outside of school happening, you're going to see all our kids running around. And, I attribute that. And you, obviously, if you got kids running around, then you don't have a lot of language and that sort of thing. And so we have open practices. So I'd love to have more kids and family come to practices, and certainly a family atmosphere, at the games.
What time are your practices?
We get on the field around 4:15 every day and go until about 6 o'clock.
Talked to Coach Covington about the offensive linemen, and they're in the weight room. And them and defensive line really need to hit the weights. What about your skilled players? How do you work them out in weights?
Yeah, I think if you look at the last however long we've been here, the one thing missing from that time period is really that true 3-month off season, and that's when you truly can physically develop your players. And so that 3 months where you're lifting over, month after month after month.
You really didn't have that because of the spring schedule.
We haven't had it.
Right.
We haven't had it. The first spring we arrived in January of 2020 and signed that recruiting class. We got cut short in the middle of March. And then you fast forward the next year where fall was kind of in limbo. We got maybe a month, but we haven't gotten that 3-month, really continuous period where most of the teams in our league right now have got that because they played last fall, and so they got that off season and really it's twofold. It gives you two things. It gives you a chance to really physically develop your lines and your big guys, and the other thing it allows you to do is evaluate yourself and look at yourself as a staff. Go visit other programs and evaluate what other people are doing. And so your own staff gets to develop and grow and develop their skill set. And so that'll be looking forward past the season. That will be so valuable and such a valuable piece of the development and progression of the program.
What about dietary? Do you have them eat certain things? I mean, don't want them driving through the McDonald's and getting a Big Mac and things like that?
We're one of the few programs and maybe the only program in our league that has a full-time dietitian on staff. And we've had a few that have been on the staff, but I think it's so valuable because so our guys can set up times to go sit down, and we'll have guys at times that need to lose weight. We'll have some that need to gain weight, and the dietitian handles all of that.
I think might have been, I don't know, with a bus or a plane, wherever. They said, "What about the players? No soft drinks on a trip." Do you care about that? Do you keep away from that?
I do. It's kind of a lifestyle that my wife and I have adopted a little bit because her background is in the fitness industry, and so she keeps us in line with how we eat as a family, and that's just kind of how we live and how we choose to eat. And so certainly that's something that I'm probably a little more familiar with than the average football coach, but I think it's important. It's important for energy for players and just but it takes a while. It takes a while to change kids' habits, how they eat, how they sleep, and those things are vital. And in the off season, we really educate our kids on all of those things.
Do you try to keep them away from the Cokes and Dr. Peppers and get them on juices and things along those lines?
Yeah, absolutely. You're trying to stay away from sugars and processed foods as much as possible, and so you can have some real energy and give them real fuel, and you educate. I mean, it's like over and over and over again. You're trying to educate those guys on, okay, when you walk into the dining hall, choose this instead of that, and make good choices. And It's okay, like set aside one day a week where you do it, but it's such a huge part in the development of because that's the phase we're in right now is
Right.
really developing those young bodies, and so the diet part will be a huge part of it.
Let me ask you on a personal question. When's the last time you had a soft drink?
That is a great question.
Have you backed away from them?
I don't drink typically. I don't drink soft drinks typically, but I'll splurge. If I'm going to splurge, it'll be a Dr. Pepper.
There you go.
I don't remember. It's probably been about a month or something like that.
In 2015, I did a New Year's resolution. I said, I'm not going to drink a soft drink for a year. I'm on year 7 without one.
Wow.
And trust me,
And you don't miss it?
Oh, I miss it. It's going to cave in quite a bit. A couple more minutes to go in this segment with Coach Blane Morgan. Again, talking Lamar University football. Let's just go back just join in on us. Just talk about the past 2 weeks since that loss to Evelyn Christian.
Yeah, what it allows you to do is really reflect. You have a game like that, and you look at everything. You look at the process of how you practice during the week. You look at, as if you're a play caller on the offensive and defensive side, you look at what you're calling. You look at when you call it, and because what you want to do is set your team up and give all those kids the best chance to have success. And when it comes down to it, every coach is going to say it, but it's the execution of 11 guys all on the same page doing a job. And in any given play, if one of those 11 does the wrong thing, then you're going to have a negative yardage in play, or something's going to go wrong. And that has been to oversimplify it. That's been our biggest issue. Is we've had, and it's not a lot of times everybody wants to look at the play call or whatever. Mm-hmm. It comes back down to basically practicing and executing, and it's one guy here, it's one guy there, it's this and that, and it's taking care of the football. And we've just got to do it. We've just got to do a much better job of taking care of the ball, and we've put an emphasis on it. We got to take care of it, and we got to get the ball on defense. And the turnover margin, it goes. It's said so often, but it's just so true. I think 74% of the time you win the turnover margin, you're going to win the game. And I think we're 116 right now in the country in turnover margin.
That's going to do it for this segment. We're back with our final segment, talking with Coach Blane Morgan from Little Woodrose on News Talk 560 KLVI. Lamar University Football Coaches Show. Little Woodrow's is our site. We're here again each and every Wednesday night from 7 until 8. The Cardinals getting ready to take on Sam Houston State on Saturday, Coach, and their place, number one in the country, national champs.
Yeah, I mean, what else what more can you say? I mean, you look at their run last spring, and certainly we played them, and they're just impressive in every facet of the game and every level of their offense and defense. They've got guys that are just disruptive and guys that are playmakers on the outside, and certainly their back half and their skill on offense is pretty impressive.
They win that national championship, and they got everybody back. And
more.
Yeah, and more. And more, right.
Yeah, and more. They added I think their left guard is a transfer. I think they added a transfer receiver. They added a graduate transfer inside linebacker. And so that's 3 off the top of my head, just looking at their 2 deep. And so, yes, I think in a lot of ways they're better this fall so far than they were last spring.
What can your team learn from playing a team like Sam Houston State?
Yeah, I think the entire focus has to be on us and us doing what we can do and going out and just our process and just practicing at a higher level, everybody being more attentive to the details of their job. And really, I just want to see us on Saturday just go out and play with just incredible effort. That's our mantra. Our process during the week, we talk about it all the time, is walk in with a great attitude and play with great effort. And then you have to execute. Everybody has to execute their job at a high level. And then at the end of the day, you're going to have to go beat this team and win one-on-one matchups. You're going to have to block one-on-one. You're going to have to tackle one-on-one. You're going to have to cover one-on-one, and that's what the game will come down to, and hopefully we can get the ball start bouncing our way a little bit, and that has to happen in a game like this.
Basically, you have everybody back. They have everybody back from that that spring game that was played here in Beaumont. How much have you looked at that video?
You certainly look at. We have a lot of video. They have a lot of video of us, but we certainly have a lot of video of them. And the thing that resonates with them is they are kind of who they are. I mean, they have an identity, and on especially on defense, and they play their defense, and they have a couple things. But when you're very, very talented at every position, then you just get your guys to go play fast and play hard. And it reminds me a little bit on defense, kind of the old Gary Patterson. They were very simple, but they just had very good players, and he got them to play hard. And then they showed a lot of grit and guts too. They were down last week, and they were without their quarterback, and they've come back on multiple occasions. They were down big to JMU, in the playoffs, and so. They are a team that has been behind and battled back, and so they're a gutsy team.
Talking with Lamar football coach Blane Morgan on the Coach Morgan Show here at the Little Woodrow's. You kind of touched on what I was going to talk about next is the Battle of Piney Woods, a big battle every year between Sam Houston State and Stephen F. Austin, a game played over at NRG Stadium. They had to score 15 points in the fourth quarter to get that 1-point win.
Yeah, and I think if you look at how the game went, certainly SFA, got it. They caused a few turnovers, and one in particular early on, I think, gave them some field position and momentum. That's what you have to do versus Sam Houston. Is you've got to find a way to create either indecision, to get a ball out, to get everybody to the football, and find a way to get positive field position, because frankly there haven't been many teams in the best and all of FCS have been through there that are driving the ball 80 yards on their defense, because they at some point they're going to have a negative yardage play or a zero play, and you've got to take your shots.
This is obviously easier said than done, but they do have a very explosive offense. and the best way to stop an offense is to keep them off the field. So you're going to have to control the ball a little bit?
Yeah, I think we've got to run our offense and move the ball down the field, and hopefully in the bye week we've identified a few. We have some explosive football players, and that's exciting, and we have to get the ball to them in space a little bit, and we're gonna try to do that, and we're gonna try to just mix and match, and with a defense that runs so well and runs so hard to the ball, you've got to try to get them flat-footed if you can. Now they read and react really, really fast, and then you got to have some guys go up and make plays. That you're in a one-on-one matchup, that you're not going to absolutely just fool them because they're so well coached, and so you got to make a guy miss. You got to break a tackle. You got to go make a play, a contested catch. Someone has to do something to beat someone in a one-on-one matchup and create some excitement for your team, some belief. And get it rolling from there.
And it goes without saying on your defense, you cannot give up the big play.
That's what they want. They would really like to push the ball down the field. And I think early on in the game last year, they got a little frustrated because they were trying to do that. And frankly, our defense was playing pretty well. And we turned the ball over. When we turn it over, it goes lopsided in a hurry. And so what they want you to do is they want you to, they want to jump on you and get up a couple scores, and then people get antsy. People start to panic,
exactly.
And then that and I've been on the other end of that too, and it happens. You get up 14, and now they feel like you got to go score right now, and then that turns into a turnover, and it's a very lopsided game after that.
Special teams, just talk about your special teams play to this point.
Yeah, it's been some of the teams have been consistent. We've got to find on special teams, to me, that's the area where we've got to find a play, whether it's a kickoff return, whether it's a punt block or a punt return. If it's knocking the ball out on our kickoff team, somebody on those units is just. We've got to spur some, get some plays going. To me, it's just kind of been we've been okay. Mm-hmm. Bailey he punted the ball a lot last game, and pretty well, but we want to have him kicking extra points and field goals here down the road, and so we just have to, just like the rest of our team, just take these next few weeks, just take methodical steps, and we got to practice better. Which I think we have this week, and then on Saturday you'll see the results.
Continuing on talking about special teams, a lot of people think, okay, with special teams, all we got to worry about is punting the ball, kicking field goals, kicking off, kick returns, and there's just so much that goes into it. How much practice in a week do you focus on special teams?
We focus a lot. We have a 30-minute meeting every single day, and then we plan. We usually have a pre-practice walkthrough of 5-6 minutes, and then 15 minutes every practice, where we're practicing, punt return, kickoff return, and then on Thursday we'll go 25 minutes. And so it is something that I think as your personnel matures and really you grow depth, that's when you get really special on the special teams, because you got your backups and your skill guys with some starters scattered in, and that's when you start making plays. When you have explosive, powerful guys on special teams, you have fast returners, and everybody takes pride. I think we will see some significant progress in the coming weeks on special teams, and with that being said, a play here, a play there. And those plays, they change the momentum of a game. I mean, just think back to the Northwestern State game in the spring.
Yes.
You blocked that punt, and now I think we were up 14. Now you're up 21 all of a sudden, and now the game is lopsided, and all the momentum is going our way. And so that's the emphasis. We have put a significant emphasis on our special teams.
Talk about punting. When I was growing up, the old saying was stand on the 10-yard line. If it's over your head, let it go. If it's in front of you, fair catch or catch and run. But you're seeing guys now drop inside the 10 to fair catch, And I think, and you can explain it better than I can, but doesn't that have a lot to do with the way how good punters are now?
Yeah, if you get a good punter, then the old rule was as a punt returner, you're going to put your toes on the 10. But now guys are kicking the backwards, punt, and they can land it, and you can get caught on the 2-yard line like we did last week.
Yes.
And I thought that was a significant play in the game last week. Is we had is probably coaching because we didn't have the right guy out there to identify where he was on the field. But Bailey hit a great punt. They should have been pinned on the 2-yard line, backed up, really hard to get out.
Straddled the goal line when he touched it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Straddled the goal line. The ball crossed the plane, and then you flip it on the other end. The ball with our punt returner, the ball hits at about the 8 or the 9. It rolls, and now you're sitting there on the 2. And those were two kind of, other, really sneaky momentum plays that happened. So you're going to stand on about the 8 or the 9-yard line with a good punter like we saw last week, and you're going to fair catch it if it lands on the 7. But let it go probably inside the 5.
At what point, say kickoff return, of course, if it goes for a touchback or fair caught, it comes to the 25-yard line. At what point do you tell your returners, and you've got two good ones, you've got two good kick returners back there, when do you tell them, okay, fair catch it so we get at the 25, or go ahead and bring it out?
Yeah, that's a team I'm excited about, just our personnel, and I see us breaking through and having a couple of significant returns here in the coming weeks. And really had a couple close in this game last spring where we got close to breaking, got out to the 30. And so there's a really small window where you want to return a kickoff with the rule now. And if it's outside of that window, again, that's experience, and that's just being a headsy football player and coaching our guys the right way. If it's outside of that, you're going to fair catch it and take it at the 25.
Rugby style punting, that's something you're seeing more and more. The guy runs to the side and kicks it. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I just sure. Yeah, for some other people, we tried that when I was at another school, and a couple of those got blocked, and so that went out the window.
Well, as a broadcaster, you go, wait, he's faking. He's going to run. No, he's going to run 5 yards to the left and kick it.
Yeah, just keep it simple. Hey, punt in that direction, and let's try to pin him. And that's another thing that this weekend we've got a huge challenge. We're going to try to keep the ball away from number 12. Man, he's an explosive punt returner. Had a big one last week against SFA that really flipped the field and flipped some momentum in that game.
Just a couple minutes ago, just talk about the schedule from tonight until we kick off at 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon at Bauer Stadium in Huntsville.
Yeah, what we'll do is we've changed up our routine as coaches. You're always trying to find the right schedule. And so we practice this afternoon. On Wednesday, it's situations. You try to get into your third down. You've had a bye week. Your third down, your short yardage. And then as play callers, you're trying to get into some game-like situations where you're calling plays and you familiarize yourself with the play call sheet. Tomorrow morning we'll go early. We're going to go at 7:15 and practice, hopefully allow more time to get our guys' legs back. So on Saturday you see a fresh team running around and ready to go. On Friday guys will go to class, and then we will meet, have a walkthrough, load up, and drive over to Houston and eat our pregame dinner and wake up and go on Saturday.
You like getting to the stadium, a couple hours early? We
do. We'll get there about two and a half hours before the game. I don't like getting there too early.
Yeah.
As a coach, I'm just we're just sitting around, right? So
anxious, ready to go.
Selfishly, as a coach, you just want to show up and go play.
A lot of times, you get off the bus, you see guys go walk the field before they go dress. Is that pretty common?
Yeah, just go walk the field. Kind of, a lot of guys everybody has a different routine, different music, different preparation, and that's one thing we stressed is you just whatever that is, you've got to basically have a ritual where days before the game, just preparation-wise, our guys are very methodical with how they prepare and they get a routine that they can follow and gets them ready to play, gets them in the right mindset.
All right, Coach, thank you so much. Good luck on Saturday. Pick the game up right here in KLVI, 1:30 airtime, 2 o'clock kickoff from Bauer Stadium in Huntsville. We'll see you over there in Huntsville. Then we're right back here next Wednesday night.
Awesome. We'll see you there.
All right, thanks, everybody, for stopping by. That's going to do it from Little Woodrose. Thanks to Jamie back in the studios. Again, Cardinal football coming up on Saturday afternoon, 1:30 airtime, 2 o'clock kickoff at Sam Houston State. Go Cards.